Good evening, everyone. Welcome into our latest edition of the Milford Informer. I am your host, Tim Coet. It has been a very busy week here in the Milford community, including two of the biggest events in the town calendar. We're going to recap it all for you tonight, so let's dive right in with a look at tonight's top stories rundown. Tonight, we'll take a look back at all of the fun and excitement that took place at Town Park during the 4th annual Celebrate Milford. Also tonight, we'll show you how Brookside Elementary School honored veterans and active service members with a special Memorial Day ceremony. And later in sports, we have must-see highlights from Milford Baseball's senior night matchup with the Hopedale Blue Raiders. This past weekend, the town hosted the 4th annual Celebrate Milford. This event has become one of the most anticipated events in the year here locally, and Mother Nature could not have provided a more perfect day to allow residents to come out in huge numbers to enjoy all of the fun, food, and entertainment taking place all around Town Park.
Nice. It's going to be a fantastic day.
Go Milford! Hi, I'm here with
Ray Osher.
Hi, Ray. So what are you doing here today?
What am I doing here today? Well, Celebrate Milford is going on right now, and it is amazing. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better day, right? The weather's beautiful. So we've got some live music going on. We've got vendors, we've got food, we've got the Milford 4th of July Parade is here, Tim Rice is here, you guys are here, Milford TV, we certainly appreciate that. A lot of fundraising going on today. Everything we do here for Celebrate Milford goes back into the community. So we donate to maybe 5 or 6 different organizations and town departments and stuff like that. So all the money goes back in.
Technically, I was invited here today by Mr. Michael Shane, and it was an awesome experience for us to come here and see the things that are done in Milford. We never knew about this, and it's an awesome place to be.
This is our first time in Milford, actually my first time in Milford myself, but this mission came across for this morale event in the community and decided to give it a go, and it's been a great turnout today.
Well, we're here today as a Back to the Future exhibit, and we're here on behalf of the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. And Ray Auger was kind enough, he saw us at another event. It was the Mendon Twin Drive-In over Labor Day, and asked us if we come today and participate and celebrate Milford, and we couldn't ask for a better day.
Well, I'm impressed with the DeLorean car. I think that's really neat. Yeah.
It's a classic. It's a favorite.
We have been Team Fox members since 2011, and so all the profits that we make for any events we do, we give to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. And we do events from bar mitzvahs to Comic-Cons to any types of conventions, and something like this is a perfect venue because it brings out a lot of people, and we have the opportunity to tell people a little bit about what we do and about what the funds that we raise make a difference to finding a cure for a very dreadful disease called Parkinson's.
4 years. I think this is our 4th year. So it was just a committee that was put together. Somebody had the idea of celebrating Milford and doing a big festival. I believe they did one for the 4th of July on at Pheno Field years back. And then it was non-existent for a long time. So we had this idea to bring it back, bring people down to the park, enjoy our lovely community, and raise money, and again, give back to the community.
I'm amazed how big this is. I did have a chance to go out, and I participated in a couple of the good hot dogs that are here. And we've done other celebrations like this in city fairs, but this one is truly outstanding.
Well, the view from the air was absolutely fantastic, and we saw a good crowd. I guess the parade was ready on standby, so we got to see that. And upon landing, I've got to say, I'm a fan of history. I love the structures around here, to start with that, but then the people, like I said before, I haven't met a greater bunch of people. They've been very supportive, come over, and it seems like a very wonderful community to be part of.
Ray Auger mentioned last year, even though the event was rained out on the first day and they had to hold it the second, that he had a very good turnout of about 8,000 people. And I would say we've probably taken a couple thousand pictures today, and we're more than happy to do more because that's what it's all about. That's what we're here for.
I think anytime that you have an event where you bring the community together, especially in great weather, it's a great time for people to network, socialize, see who's part of their community, and it just serves to actually promote cohesiveness within the community. And I think today is a perfect example of that. I have met dozens of just wonderful people, and I've seen everyone interact, and you get to see what's available throughout the community you may not have known before. So this is a perfect opportunity to enjoy this.
What is your favorite thing about Celebrate Milford?
Well, it's got to be the entertainment. My band's playing today. We've got 9 bands on the main stage. Belit is playing right now. That's what you hear in the background. But I think that's my favorite aspect. That and the outstanding beer garden with our very own Craft Roots beer brewing. That's in there. And got a couple other beers on tap. Doesn't matter. It's all about Craft Roots. But yeah, I think those are my 2 favorite things. And the third, a close second and first, would be the community coming together to celebrate Milford. That's it.
After the fun of Celebrate Milford, it was time for town officials and town meeting members to get down to business at the annual Springtown meeting. The full meeting is up and running now on both our main Milford TV channel and on YouTube. Tonight we've chosen to highlight 3 of the most hotly debated articles in the following town meeting recap.
Town meeting members, the motion before you simply removes the salary of the police chief from the police department's personal service budget for the next fiscal year. If this motion carries, the Board of Selectmen will not be able to fund the position of interim police chief. On May 6, 2019, the Deputy Chief of the Milford Police appeared before the Board of Selectmen and presented his credentials and interest in being the interim police chief. The Chairman of the Board of Selectmen gave him high praise, and I quote, "I do want to say this speaking from the board. You have an impeccable reputation as Deputy Chief. It makes sense to me that you would like to be interim police chief. And I agree with everything you said, that you are qualified and that you have the requisite qualification. So there's no question from my perspective on that," end quote. Yet 22 minutes later, the Board of Selectmen, after very little discussion according to the Milford Daily News, appointed another individual, a retired sergeant from the Milford Police, to the position of interim police chief. According to a newspaper report in the Milford Town Crier, because the board's designee is coming out of retirement, his duties as interim police chief would be purely administrative and would not include exercising police powers. So the board's designee does not currently meet the regulations set by the Code of Massachusetts Regulations for being a police chief. Also, the board's designee does not meet the standards set by the Police Chief Selection Committee for candidates seeking the position of police chief. And yet the Board of Selectmen, for they are the sponsor of this article, Article 4, are asking this body to approve the police chief's full salary in the police department budget for an individual who does not meet the regulations that the Commonwealth and the standards this community requires of its police chief. Town meeting members, this town deserves better.
Personally, I view it as an attempt to hijack a process politically, but that's okay. I'll give my opinions, and I'd like to respond to some of the comments that were made by previous speakers. Number one, our deputy chief is eminently qualified. For a variety of reasons, if each of you were elected officials, you might make decisions that would take qualified people, allow them to pursue police chief, and not give them a leg up in the search process or to be viewed as incumbents. There are lots of reasons why police chiefs, assistant police chiefs across the state and other towns do this by bringing in retirees. In part, they don't encumber the process of finding a chief. This process might well do that, might encumber the process for finding a police chief if we're not funding the police chief's salary.
We invest a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen, on these policemen, and I'm going to say firemen, to protect us every single day. And when we make a move like is being proposed right now, what is the message that we send to them? Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what you do, because there could be a possibility that you're not going to get the opportunity. And that is so, so sad.
Taking away the funding hurts the department as a whole. And you're setting a bad precedent by saying we now will hold departments under our thumb at town meeting because of what we don't like. If you don't like it, don't vote for them. If you don't like for them, tell them to take their bags and get out. Do a recall for them. But please don't hurt the members of this department. That's all I care about. I don't care who deputy chief is. I don't care who chief is. Just please don't hurt the department. That's all I care about.
I love this community, and nobody believes in all of you more than I do, and I would do anything for you, and you all know that. What's taking place here is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. That place could be managed. Look, I'm going to step out. I have my own thing going, so I'm not here advocating for me. I'm advocating for the deputy chief.
79 having voted in the affirmative, 78 in the negative, the motion is carried.
In effect, what you are voting for is to allow the voters of Milford to decide at the next town election, whether it be in April or November, whether or not they would like to see the number of selectmen increase to 5. Milford is the largest town in Massachusetts with only 3 selectmen, one of only 4 towns with a representative town meeting and 3 selectmen. And Milford is the 19th largest town out of 295 towns in Massachusetts. Is there a problem running the town with only 3 selectmen? No, of course not. However, I would submit to you that 5 selectmen would be better.
This town, and take it from me, I've served you for 60 years on the school committee and this town meeting member and all. Nothing needs to change except people. Whomever it is you want, you vote for that. You make it harder if you make the numbers longer. We've been running this town. We are the best run town in the state of Massachusetts. We're one of 4 people who have 3 selectmen. We don't do what other people do for the sake of doing it. We do what's right. And obviously we've been right with the numbers that we have, or we wouldn't be where we are today.
We have 2 articles before us this evening. Both would, if passed, create monumental change in the way the elections are run, both in the numbers and the timing of those elections. The problem with the way in which these were presented is that they are presented individually, in a vacuum, and not coordinated with each other. And that leaves us only to speculate what would happen if one were to pass and not the other. Due to the fact that I think, and this is not to discuss or to in any way telegraph a feeling on the substance of the motions themselves. I just simply think that as they stand right now, there's some confusion. They would warrant more consideration. I would ask you not to vote for it at this time, and at some time in the future, perhaps, we can look at both proposals in more detail, and in so doing, make sure that if we move in that direction, we have a smooth transition without problems, and there are no unexpected results that we then have to backpedal and try to fill in after the fact.
52 having voted in the affirmative, 110 in the negative, the motion is defeated.
One of the earlier speakers tonight said that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, in my opinion, the town elections are broken. This year, as you may know, turnout was 2,271 votes, I believe, just about 13%. This is the lowest turnout we've had in any town election since 2011, but it's not really that unique. We haven't cracked the 30% mark this century.
I had the distinct pleasure of running against Mike Walsh in a previous election. And it was an amazing experience. However, the worst part about it was having to do canvassing in December, January, and February. You have no idea what a hindrance, what awfulness it is to try to walk the streets of Milford, trying to collect votes, trying to get people to open doors during the coldest of cold months. This just, makes it very difficult for persons to commit to running for office. By moving the elections to November, persons will be more encouraged to run for office as they will be able to canvass in August, September, and October, which is a much more pleasant time to get out and see the town. I so much urge you to pass this article. Thank you.
I certainly understand the convenience to voters of hosting all elections on one day, but that single-day convenience may come at a cost. One important consideration to combining the town election with the November election is how cumbersome our experience at the polls is likely to be. According to the town clerk, we will each need to complete separate ballots for the local election and the state federal election. The distribution and collection of separate ballots will require separate lines. Although I have no doubt that the poll workers will do an excellent job managing these lines, such a scenario may be confusing, and some voters may choose not to even pick up and complete a local ballot. The second important consideration is the impact on our local election. I worry that lumping the local, state, and federal elections together will minimize the importance of the Milford town election. Think about it. The town election, when held in April, offers an opportunity for residents to focus all of our political attention on the needs of our families, friends, and businesses right here in Milford. This solitary focus on our community's candidates will be lost if we choose the convenience of a one-stop shopping election day in November.
66 having voted in the affirmative, 72 in the negative, the motion is defeated.
As everyone gets set to enjoy the long holiday weekend, it's always important for us to take a moment to reflect on the real reason we honor and celebrate Memorial Day. Earlier this week, the students at Brookside Elementary School did just that as they honored local veterans and active service members as part of a very special Memorial Day program.
As we move forward, we want to make sure that we welcome everyone to our Memorial Day program. We would also like to welcome and honor the following veterans who have served in the armed forces along with our active members of duty. Please stand when I call your name and come to the front of the school. Mr. Bernard King, U.S. Air Force, World War II, father of Mrs. Rice, our media specialist, escorted by Mr. Jim Hastings, U.S. Marine Corps, Vietnam War, cousin of Mr. Rice. Brookside. A special thank you to all of you today for serving our country so bravely and proudly.
Down by the flagpole early in the morning, see our nation's colors flying at half-staff. Then the flag blowing in the breeze until noontime, then up they go. Why on the flagpole do they fly so low? What is the meaning? Tell me if you know. They lie there in memory of the soldiers who died that we might have liberty. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony. Stuck a feather in his hat, they called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle, keep it up. Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the second with the rosy handy. Long and happy time to gamble, long and happy good. Every color and boy has been a good. Yankee Doodle, keep it up. Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the second with the rosy handy. I lay my head down every night and go to sleep in peace. I can stay there knowing all is well while you're standing on your feet. Keeping watch, protecting shores to shore, in the air and oceans too. Defending freedom at all costs, for the red, white, and the blue. Thank you, oh thank you, and your flag that brave and strong. Though you work so gallantly, we sing this grateful song. Thank you, oh thank you, and women brave and strong. To those who serve so gallantly, we sing this grateful song.
A tough 3-game losing streak for the Scarlet Hawks baseball team last week left them in a vulnerable position. With 3 games remaining on their schedule, the team would need to win at least 2 of their final 3 games to assure themselves a spot in the MIAA playoffs. That crucial stretch began on Wednesday for Milford, and the team responded well, defeating the Canton Bulldogs 7-3. The team had just 1 home game left on their schedule, their annual senior night game against the Hopedale Blue Raiders. Could the team sew up their playoff spot under the lights at Pheno? Let's check out the highlights. The Scarlet Hawks looked to close out their home schedule with a victory on Thursday night as they hosted neighboring rival Hopedale in the team's annual senior night matchup. Milford fans would see a familiar face on the mound for the opposition in Chris Brunt, who suited up for the post-59 Legion team last summer. Brunt would be greeted rudely by the Hawks offense in the bottom of the first. With 2 on and nobody out, Colby Perez would send a base hit through the left side that would score Matt Shaver to give the Hawks a lead. After a wild pitch made it 2-0, Danny Corsini would chip in with an RBI single to make it a 3-0 Milford lead. The Hawks would have an opportunity to tack on as the inning progressed, but with 2 on and only 1 out, Cameron Solomon would strike out, and Tyler Almeida would end up getting caught in a rundown, eventually getting tagged out to finish off an inning-ending double play. Milford would have another great chance to increase their lead in the second. Nick Marcolini, Carter Scudo, and Matt Shaver would all reach base with 2 outs in the inning, and the big bat of Danny Corsini at the plate. Corsini would send the first pitch he saw down the right field line, but Hopedale's Tyler Lane would make the catch, and the Hawks would squander the opportunity. In the third inning, Hopedale would make the Hawks regret those missed chances. Corsini with the 1-0 pitch, and it's a line drive back up the middle, drops down for a base hit. 1 run will come in to score. As right now, Hopedale just takes it 1 base at a time, 4 consecutive singles. to start this inning against Danny Corsini, and this one produces a run. And now sends a fly ball out to left field. Scudo has it glance off of his glove, and another run will score for Hopedale. Everything going wrong for the Scarlet Hawks right now as Hopedale now cuts it to 3-2. And now a line drive that's sent out to shallow right center field, down for a hit. 1 run scores. Here comes the go-ahead run to the plate. Lucini scores, and it's a 2-run single for Jimmy Casey. And just like that, Hopedale able to erase a 3-run deficit. They now take a 4-3 lead. The Hawks would have the chance to immediately respond in their half of the 3rd inning, but the Raiders reliever John McDonough would get Matt Shaver to pop out, and Milford would strand the bases loaded for the 2nd straight frame. Milford would put the tying run on base in each of the next 3 innings, including placing a runner at 3rd with 2 down in the 6th, but each time John McDonough would find a way to escape the inning, and we'd play on to the 7th with Hopedale clinging to their 1-run lead. The Blue Raiders would have a chance to push across some insurance in the top half of the 7th, but Matt Shaver would come out of the bullpen and he would get Oliver Radcliffe to line out to 1st, forcing Hopedale to strand 2. In the bottom of the 7th, Milford would immediately place the tying run on with a leadoff walk before Nick Marcolini would hit a slow roller to short. Chris Brunt would send an accurate throw to 2nd, but the ball would be dropped, allowing the tying run to advance to 3rd base with only 1 out and one of Milford's hottest hitters coming to the plate. On at 1st, here's the 1-0 pitch into Appleby. It's hit past the dive with a shortstop out into left field, and in to score comes Jalen Fernandez to tie this game up at 4. The Hawks would have the winning run at 2nd base in the inning, but Hopedale would hold the runner there, sending this senior night game into extra innings. After both sides failed to capitalize on chances, we'd enter the bottom of the 9th, still deadlocked. With 1 out in the frame, Justin Appleby would get things started for Milford with a base hit. Shaver would follow with a single, and then Carter Scudo would be hit by a pitch to load the bases with only 1 out. Hopedale reliever Oliver Radcliffe would manage to get Colby Perez on a shallow pop fly, setting up senior captain Danny Corsini with a chance to be the hero. Now the 2-1 pitch, and Corsini hits it in the air out to right field. On the move goes Tyler Lane. It's over his head. And in to score the game-winning run comes Justin Appleby. And here in the bottom of the 9th inning, it is the senior captain, Danny Corsini, here on senior night, who's able to deliver the walk-off hit. And in 9 innings, Milford escapes with a 5-4 victory. What a back-and-forth game between these two teams. But it is Corsini who wins it for the Scarlet Hawks. With the win, the Scarlet Hawks officially guaranteed themselves a spot in the postseason. That means we will eagerly be awaiting the release of the MIAA tournament brackets for both baseball and boys volleyball next week. As soon as we find out where and when the teams will be in action, we will let you know if we will be on hand with coverage. Make sure you check in with Milford TV on Twitter for any updates on our playoff schedule. That's going to wrap up this week's edition of The Informer. We thank you as always for joining us. And from all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coet saying have a great week. So long, everybody.